used it as a platform to just dump all the photos that I had taken, but it wasn't consistent. When I first started my account, I never posted my face. It was purely food videos.
Got it.
I really think my husband comes into play. Our family is definitely not traditional.
Do you think you're prepared and ready to do full-time mum, full-time job, full-time creator? Like, that's a lot. All right. So, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Good to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
So, we're going to jump straight into this. I told you off camera, I want to know a little bit about, like, how did you get to today, right to this point right here? So, why don't you give me, like, a little bit of backstory of, like, where did this all start? When did you start making content? And let's unpack that for a little bit, and then we'll roll out the rest of it.
Okay, sounds good. So I started content creation quite a while back when Instagram used to be like a photo editing app.
Yeah.
And it was purely photos only.
Yeah.
And I just used it as a platform to, I guess, just dump all the photos that I had taken of all the experiences that I had been doing, all the food that I've been eating. But it wasn't consistent. It was just just random moments. Yeah. And then when COVID happened and we were in lockdown, that's when I thought, I've got all these videos, I've got all these photos just taking up my storage. Let's implement some marketing, because my background's marketing. So I thought, let's implement those strategies that I've been implementing on businesses on myself, and just started consistently uploading photos, talking to my followers or my audience in the tone, or just kind of speaking in the same language, and my accounts slowly and steadily grew over time.
Yeah, nice. And that was Instagram first, was it?
Yes, that
was
Instagram
started to grow first. That's real interesting. Like, we talked to so many people on this podcast who, especially the ones who are like, over lockdown, this thing happened, I started posting more. And it was always TikTok. It was always TikTok. Everyone's like, my TikTok just took off. There's very few people who said it was their Instagram that started the whole thing. When you got to lockdown, did you have much of a following before you went into lockdown that kicked that off, or did it all start? Like, what follower count were you at?
I think I had less than 2,000 followers.
Wow.
And it was... Yeah.
Friends and family and people you'd met kind of thing mostly.
Yeah. And it's interesting because back during lockdown, TikTok was all about dancing, lip syncing, and I do that off camera. I don't like doing it in front of the camera, but and I didn't want to join TikTok because I thought it was really silly back then. I thought it was silly. I thought it was really messy. I didn't understand, because there was a clear differentiation between Instagram and how curated it was versus TikTok, where people were just randomly posting up anything, which is more genuine. It's genuine content in today's in today's language. But back then, because it was so new, I was like, I don't want to jump on this silly platform. People were saying that it was like a Chinese app where they were taking data, and because it was so unknown, I guess I just wasn't. I wasn't really confident in posting on it. I was on it to watch, but I never posted anything.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. I only started posting on it because one of the businesses that I wanted to work with, they said they chose to work with another creator because the other creator had TikTok.
Got it.
So, that's when I thought, you know what, if that's what I need to do, I'll jump on it.
Interesting. So, so you're roughly, let's call it 2,000, just argument's sake, going into lockdown on Instagram. By, say, like 2021, 2022, what had that number got to by that stage, if you'd started to post more? Did you see a rise then, or was the rise being more recent?
I would say the rise was pretty steady.
Cool.
It was just steady. I never had anything super viral that made it jump to a certain number. So it was just steady growth until I think about, I would say maybe 2 years ago, when I started posting more about, I guess, buffets and all that. That's when my following started picking up pace. Yeah, that's how I would describe my audience. Yeah.
Doing more, 2 years ago is probably the same time when we as an agency, it was like, Instagram's fixed its algorithm and knows what it's doing now. It's copied TikTok and it's going. Is that sort of what you saw as well? Like, was it just that the videos you're creating, you done them better, or had the platform just found your audience easier for you?
I would say it's a bit of both.
Okay.
So when I first started my account, I never posted my face. It was purely
Interesting. Didn't know that.
food videos.
Got it.
Yeah, and I just didn't expose my face. But I think roughly 2 years ago, that's when I started posting more of my face.
Yeah.
And I think my audience found it more relatable because they,
of course,
had a face to an account. And also, I think the algorithm, like you said, started figuring out who to pump out my content to. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that because I've only seen your content for probably the last 2 years, actually, because when Joni first introduced me to your stuff. And obviously I've seen your face in it, so I never knew that. So was it like completely faceless, or when before that you just didn't put your face in it at all?
Completely faceless.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
so it was purely, close-ups of food, close-ups of shopping that I had done.
Yeah.
It was anonymous.
Yeah. And was that for any particular reason?
I guess it wasn't really for a particular reason. I think I just thought it'll be good to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone started showing more of their faces, and I thought, I should try that. I should try a different type of content because my growth wasn't as fast-paced as I thought, as I wanted it to be. So I started, posting different formats, doing more voiceovers, seeing what would work, and I found something that works.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting because like the Instagram crowd, especially in the millennial generation, like for like my friends and stuff who like would have posted pictures of their lunch from like a pretty top-down view or something really nice and aesthetic looking cool, and then like you'll go and you'll have lunch with Joni and she will like turn her camera around on 0.5 and take a massive bite out of the croissant, and that's what she's posting. And so like it's quite interesting you say that because it's almost like a shift, not just generationally it changed, but then because that content performed so much better, it changed all of our content.
Yes.
Like we all started to put our faces in to stuff. And I always struggle with that when I'm talking to clients around personal brands. So like on LinkedIn, for instance, we'll do a lot of personal brands on LinkedIn for businesses. And we're trying to tell them to put pictures of their face up. And they're like, I don't want to put pictures. I don't want to do a selfie. I don't want to do this stuff. And I was like, it doesn't matter what the image is, except that it needs your face so people can build rapport with you, because we find connection in faces. And so we've been like pushing our clients more and more. Like we've always said, like we need your face. Like it doesn't matter what the photo represents. I just need people to connect this written text to your image. That's all I need. And as soon as you do that, like even on LinkedIn, the accounts start to scale as well. So it's kind of interesting thing, like our it played out for you the same way it kind of played out for society.
Yes.
I suppose, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
I think it's always just nice to know the person behind the camera. And every time I post a little bit, something personal about myself, I feel like the engagement just starts spiking up because people are always curious. I recently did a Q&A, and there were so many people that started asking really personal questions, but it makes sense because I don't share everything about my life. So I think there's always that little mysterious side where people are thinking, how does she eat so much, or how does she shop so much, or
No, it is a fascinating thing. I think that we're obviously humans are way more interested than humans than anything else. Like, of course, it's why like podcasts work, because like asking people a bunch of questions, people want to know more about other people. It's the same reason why reality TV took over the whole world. So I'm a big believer in like sharing as much of it as possible. I get a lot of like kudos on LinkedIn for sharing so much of my business journey, and I'll have all these people go, oh, it's so brave that you're sharing all this stuff about your business, but like what else would I share? Like no one wants to know what we do as a business because they don't really care. They only actually really care about the people in it. And that's a real hard thing for people to get from a B2B marketing perspective, is like, oh, but you're a marketing agency, you got to show how good you are at marketing. It's like, to show how good I'm at marketing, then I need to do good marketing, and good marketing is sharing good personal stories, and that's the thing. And then that's like a real hard thing for people to grasp. They're like, no, like you have to talk about other marketing principles. And it's like, well, people want to see us do the thing right. That's why like all our own content is, when Joni first started working with us, it's like it all has to be us. like we're the team. It has to be all about us. And then that obviously worked so well. Okay.
I loved watching it. It's like watching Friends. It's like watching a sitcom and you're the characters in it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Friends is exactly how we refer to it. There's like, you can either create Friends or you can create Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones is like episodic and you have to follow everything to know, or you can do Friends where you can like dip in, watch an episode, it's fun, I kind of get context, but I don't have to watch all the others to really love it. And so we always talk about that, making friends. That's exactly what it is. Okay, enough about us. Okay, so you got to that point 2 years ago, Instagram started taking off, and you put more of your face in it. That sort of takes us through to today. But you don't just do this, right? Like you told me off camera, like you're also doing contract roles and you've got other things and you've got a family and all sorts of stuff. So like, give me like the wider picture of your world, because there's more to it than some of the young kids I have on this podcast who are just like, oh, you know, like I dance on TikTok. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about like the wider landscape. You now got the Instagram growing. What else is going on in the world?
So behind the camera, I am a mum.
Yep.
I do have a 3-year-old boy, and I guess he's my lucky charm, and he's my my world, because I feel like ever since he was born, things started picking up for me, just in terms of social media, but everything else as well.
Cool. That's awesome.
And prior to having him, I was in the 9-to-5 world. Worked in marketing, tried to climb up the corporate ladder, because that's what I thought I had to do. And I did enjoy it, because there were certain things in life that I wanted to tick off, and I was ticking them off at the pace that I wanted to tick them at.
Cool.
But my perspective changed a lot since I became a mum. I started believing more in burnout and I think it was the way I was raised as well. Like I didn't really believe in burnout. I believed that I just had to keep going despite how unhappy I was in a situation. I wasn't a quitter. I just kept going. And I guess having my son just kind of, it was like a reflection to slow down, to enjoy and soak in the little moments. So I still do want to work. So even though content creation is work, I do want to continue on with my 9-to-5 that I had worked so hard in. I guess I just work so hard, so I can't let it go. However,
for sure.
And contract roles are great for it, because you work for a certain period of time and then you can take time off. But I am looking for something full time. At the same time, I'm checking out to see what's in the market, but it's not a great market at the moment. The opportunities that I did have, there was a recent one where I had to turn down because due to conflict of interest. So
because of your brand.
Yes.
Wow, interesting.
And prior to that, I did have another contract role where there was a bit of conflict of interest. So I did have to stop posting and working with competitors. But the thing is, when you work in corporate, everyone owns everything. So everything is a conflict of interest, and they can always kind of, even though they may not currently have the brand or have that product, if they plan on having to in future, then that also is a conflict of interest. So I guess the pros of showing my face, my audience has grown and I have more of a connection with my audience. However, now people recognize me, and businesses, they just have to give me a heads up and say, you can choose to do this or choose to do that. And it's a bit of a tricky one, because one is steady income versus the other one is something that I enjoy doing. But if I look at the bigger picture, I didn't go viral overnight. It took me years to get to where I am now, so I didn't want to really give it up. And
definitely not.
And if I look at the bigger picture, and if I can grow more and turn this into a business, then I shouldn't give it up. So my husband is always very supportive. He always reminds me of the bigger picture, what I can achieve, reminds me of where I was before, and then just he's very supportive, and I don't think I would have grown to where I am now without him. So
yeah, that's awesome. And you need those people in your corner when you're doing this sort of stuff, because it's like it's one of those like hard roads where you're doing so much for so long, nothing happens, and you need people to remind you of where you've come from as well a lot of the time. It's interesting though. I want to touch on we don't have to get into specifics because you're in the job market, so we won't get into specifics, but it is an interesting conversation around employers who are almost scared of their employees having this conflict of interest and whatnot. Like in our company, we encourage it almost. Like for us, it's like go big. Like, like Connor over there is like had a bunch of brand deals with different things. He doesn't have to run any of them past me or whatever. Joni's the same. Like she does brand deals all the time and does her own thing and whatever. I think it only adds to their skill set and their credibility actually. And I find it hard that a lot of big businesses don't realize that yet, and they still are a little bit nervous about it. I reckon that for you, there are some brands out there who are changing, even in the bigger scale ones. Like we one of our clients in the US is Spectrum, and they're like a large telecommunications company. Their VP of content was Tim Chusano. Do you know who Tim Chusano is? He's like the New York Dad guy. He's got like 1.4 million or something on TikTok, and it's massive. Oh, wow. He made content. He makes content like all the time, massive. But he was like their VP of content over there, and like would make content in the office and everything. But it was his brand. He did his own brand deals, did all stuff. But they were like, they're a Fortune 100 company. They're a $50 billion company, 100,000 employees. Like if anyone's going to scrutinize someone's brand, it would be them. So I guess my point of that story is like the big companies are starting to change, but the advice that I've seen from other people and what I would give people is you just, in the interview process, you're like, this is who I am, this is still going to happen. You have no control over it. There are brands changing. And actually, like, I think as a marketing person, if you're working for a company that thinks the other way, they're probably, I was going to say, it's going to sound real bad, but they're probably the wrong business. Like they're being left behind, right? Like, because this is not the way the world is anymore. Like everyone has a brand. We can all use our products. You couldn't work for, say, like McDonald's and not be able on the weekend be able to go eat Burger King and post about it. It'd be a bit different if you're taking a brand, like ads and stuff. I get it. I understand. But still, like everyone's got a brand and doing all the things. So it's kind of interesting world to play into. Do you, when you're having those conversations in interviews, like does it come up straight away in the interview process that people are asking about it?
So I do mention it in the very first interview. I guess if they like me enough, they proceed to the second interview, and then they bring it up, and then they talk about what they could offer if I didn't post. Yeah. And I mean, it's tricky because I have a family, I have a mortgage to pay. I'm in a different life stage to some other creators where money is quite important to pay off the bills and to, I just want my son to have a good life later on. So it's a constant battle that I have in my head, but I'm very grateful that I do have social media, that I do have some sort of income coming in. And I am grateful for the contract opportunities because for a short period of time, if I'm really good with my budgeting, then I can kind of forecast the future and my spending. But it's not steady, but I want it to eventually become something steady where I do want to do content creation and have some sort of steady income flowing in the background. I just want everything. I just want to, I mean, that's what everyone... That's what everyone wants. Everyone wants
their cake and eat it too, right?
Yes.
That was my next line of questioning is like, do you think you're prepared and ready to do full-time mum, full-time job, full-time creator? Like, that's a lot. How do you manage that?
I feel, I really think my husband comes into play. Our family is definitely not traditional. He always steps in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And without him, I don't think I would be able to get everything done. But he helps a lot. He does most of the cooking in the house.
Yeah, nice.
He's the better cook.
I love that.
And he doesn't like my food, so...
That's funny.
So he does the cooking. But just I don't think I would be able to do everything without him. And I am in awe of all the people that do everything by themselves. Some people do them by themselves. And I have so much respect for them.
No, it's so hard. What about work? Like, it's a real different thing being in a contract role to a full-time role. Obviously, you know that, and the reason why you took contracts. But, like, it's a hard thing to be, like, full-time in a role because it's hard to clock off in the corporate world because your mind's still solving the problems. Because, like, when you work in those places, your job's to solve problems all day long. And you can't just, like, stop doing that when you go home. Like, your brain still works and everything, and then it's quite hard to switch between the two. How do you find that, like, switching from, like, you go to work, you're doing contract stuff, and then switching into creator mode? Is that quite easy for you, or do you find that quite difficult?
So it was a little bit difficult in a sense because after work, after 5 p.m, I have to do the regular mum duties of putting my son to sleep, like bathing him, putting him to sleep and doing all that. But I usually commute to places on the public transport, and that's when I switch to my content creator mode, and that's when I do all my editing.
Got it.
And even on my way here, I was editing my video that I'm going to post later on this week. So that's what I like about public transport. You have no other option to do anything else. And during the weekends, that's when I do most of the collaborations or the work for social media. And then, throughout the weekdays, during the public transport moments, that's when I'm editing. So if you have someone that can help you, that can support you, I don't think it's hard to... Yeah,
that's great. That's real great advice because, like, the reason I ask is if I think about some of the guys in this team, they struggle with that switch. I know Joni, and you know Joni well, is that, like, she, in her roles, she'll struggle with if she's got lots to do here and lots going on, even if it's not a lot of time, it's just lots of thinking. She can't switch her brain into personal mode, so her personal content will suffer because she doesn't know how to, like, put it in. But I really like what you talked about there with, like, the public transport, because it's like a clean break, and it's like a time where you're stopped and you can do something else. I look at it for me, it's not public transport, but I always talk about how, like, I go off and game, like I play video games, and it's a time for my brain to, like, tune out for a bit. I'm not doing what you're doing, which is starting to edit, but it allows me to, like, pull myself out of all the crap that's going on and a reset. So I kind of like that. Like, that's kind of a good hack. Like, go do something that allows you to be separated almost from it all and give you the time. And like you said, like, public transport's great because you're stuck on the bus or the train.
You're stuck. You can't do anything else. And I mean, yes, you can choose to go home earlier by driving there, but then when I go home, then I become mum. There's no... and I can't relax. So it's actually not bad taking the public transport to do what you need to do. Just stick on your headphones and you're in your own little world.
That's fantastic. I love that. I used to, I've always caught public transport if I haven't lived close. I've, like, never been really into buying cars. And so I used to live in Gold Coast and travel up to Brisbane on the train every day. And that was, like, the best hour or 2 hours because of there and back every day because the amount of stuff I could do and, like, just read books and everything. So, okay, I love that tip. That's something that I don't know how the editing guys are going to clip that out, but I think it's a good clip for people to read because, like, or see, because I don't think people struggle with that. Like, it seems like you've just, like, what are you talking about, Stan? This is so easy to do. You just like jump on a bus. but actually, like, most people really struggle with the switch of brands. How do I juggle a career and creator at the same time?
I guess it's also different because even though my background's in marketing, I wasn't the creator. I was in marketing, but I was a marketing campaign manager, or, like, I'm not the one creating. I work with the people that are creating. So maybe it's different. It would most likely be different if you're pumping out content for work. You probably don't want to. You'll be burnt out to create your own content. So maybe that's why I can turn myself...
Two different skill sets.
It's a different skill set. However, I admire people that can pump out so much content. It's amazing.
Oh, it's hard. It's super hard. Okay, so that tells me a little bit about, like, the path forward. You're looking at potentially, like, going back into full-time work. Is the reason now because your son's a little bit older and that's why you're ready to do it? Or like, what are the reasons for going back into full-time work? Or just yet you miss that career ladder growth, or what is it?
I guess it's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
My son is older, so he's starting to understand more.
Yeah.
Also, I guess the current economy, I can continue on living like I am now, but that sense of achievement in the career ladder, that's I think I just work too hard for it, and I just don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of everything. I don't want to give it up because I worked so hard for it. However, the future's really unknown because I thought that I would be back at full-time work a year into having my boy, but it's just really unpredictable. If I grow more on my social media channels, maybe, and if I can turn it into a business, then maybe I won't want to go back because that sense of achievement will be someplace else. So I'm quite different. Like before, I used to think I want to own a house by 30, or I want to be married by a certain age. Like I had really specific goals, but now I try and just look at the bigger picture and don't set myself such a specific goal, because first of all, the economy is pretty bad. I'm probably it's much harder to achieve those goals, and now that I've learned to slow down a bit, it's just better to be a little bit easier on myself. Like I shouldn't be so tough on myself on getting a second house, or it's the economy does so much. It controls so much. Like the grocery bills are ridiculously high. The mortgage rates, they're dropping now, but they were ridiculously high before. So it gave me a lot of setback in what I wanted to achieve. And I've just kind of become a more relaxed person now, to go along with the flow, to not be so frustrated on things I can't control. And that's just the same in terms of finding a career. If I can't find something that I want to do full-time this year, then that just wasn't the right role for me. It means I just need to focus my energy on someplace else, like my social media or my family or friends. So
I really like what you're saying, because it's like a real common narrative that as a leader of a business, you're talking to a lot of people in the team about that. Like you have to just start to go with the flow a little bit. Like as you age, you start to realize that like you can't control it all. You have to let things happen as they happen. You can make moves and go places you want it to go, and you can like sort of engineer the world to still do the best for you. But at sometimes, like, you know, certain presidents can do a certain thing and throw the whole world into turmoil in one decision, right? There are things that are just outside your control and you can't sort of predict or plan for. But actually, like, you bob and weave. Like, you go where it takes you. This thing happened. Okay, cool. That's not great, but I could just go this way instead. That's like real sound advice, and like something that a lot of people, especially a lot of people on this podcast that I interview, like are nowhere near understanding. And I think it is something that just comes with like, I mean, obviously like motherhood and marriage and life and age helps with these experiences, because like you got so much thrown at you all the time that you sort of deal with it. But I still think it's great advice, especially for creators, because creators are often like comparing themselves to everyone else. So they're looking at other people going, oh, look, they're so big now, I should get that, and oh, that person. But then like you can't always control all those things. When I say that, like, do you deal or suffer with like, are you chasing anyone else down? There any other people you look at going like, I wish I could do things like that, or that person?
I guess I don't have anyone specific, but when I do see other creators that I've been following ever since my 9-to-5 days, because those were the influencers that I wanted to work with in terms of the business. And you meet them in real life and you keep watching them, see them grow, and some of them grow at a much faster pace. And sometimes you do think, that was a great idea. That's a great series. I could have done that, but they chose to do it first, and that's you can't really be annoyed at that because I wasn't the first person to do that.
Yeah.
So if you think of an idea, don't sleep on it. I think you have to action it straight away because there are so many like-minded people out there that will start something and it might blow up and you think, oh, damn it, I did think of that. But yeah, you just, if you like something that another creator's doing, you don't have to necessarily copy them, but you can get an idea. Yeah, you can get inspiration and change it, tweak it up to something that's yours and personal. So yeah, there are heaps of creators where I think, oh my gosh, they've grown a lot, or look at all these brand deals that they're getting, they're traveling places, and you do get envious sometimes, but nothing to get angry about or feel. No. You don't need to feel those negative emotions. You just need to learn from them.
Exactly. And move forward. Yeah. I'm going to ask you about like with your marketing brain on and your strategic brain on, not the creative brain. What do you think from a strategic point of view should creators be doing today to help grow their brand? Not necessarily like, don't think of it like from make viral content, but as a way to like design the brand to be desirable, especially to work with other brands, to get brand deals, to grow as a business. Like with your strategic brain on, how are you thinking about that like in 2025? Does that make sense? Like how are you thinking about, you said at the beginning when you were a marketing person and you grew this brand, you go, I'm going to apply all the stuff I know about marketing to my own brand. Mm-hmm. How has that changed in 2025? Like where is it at now? I mean, obviously you started doing that in 2020. What is the strategy? Like how do you move forward? How do you grow your brand to make it bigger and more profitable, I suppose?
I guess for me personally, sorry, is that the question?
Yes. For just myself. How are you seeing it for yourself, and then what would you suggest to others?
I think if you want to work with a brand, then if there's a brand that you really want to work with, I think the best thing that I've done in terms of strategy that I'm continuously doing would be, if I want to get noticed by a specific brand, I'm happy to make free content about them. Mm-hmm. It's not all about money. There's a journey, you know, like before I started earning my first $50 or first $100, I was doing all that for free. I would pay my own money to go to restaurants, or I would, I guess, buy my own food.
Fund it all.
Fund it all. And I still do. I think it's an investment. It's reinvesting in yourself. If you want to create content, genuine content while pumping out the ads, you need to reinvest in yourself. Explore those restaurants, explore those new products that are being launched. Don't be afraid to reinvest in yourself. And if you want to be noticed, then just shoot the content for free. Just do it. Just do it. And one day, you never know, someone may be watching your content and may want to work with you. So instead of, I think, I used to be more analytical, and I used to, I still have a Google Calendar where I plot in all the content that I want to post on specific days because I think it's of relevance. But I've become a bit more flexible now because I'm starting to understand my audience more, and I'm starting to understand, I guess, I don't have to think into so much. I don't have to think about it to that degree on my own channels. So I guess I'm posting when I want to. That just spiraled. I don't even know what I'm saying now.
No, I think you're saying something really important, which is something I think about a lot, is that the marketing calendar is dead. It's dead and it's dying, and some people are holding on to it really strong. And like coming from a marketing world, you would have always had a calendar.
Yes, it was just kind of what I followed, and that's how I initially grew, and that's right. But in today's society, I don't think you need to think about it that deeply. If you think something will work, do it. Like if it's do the work. Do the work. I think that's how my mindset's changed a bit. That is like, no, honestly, it's
it's actually really great. Like I think the same. I think we'll come up against brands that we work with all the time where they're like, oh, where's our marketing calendar? Like, when are our posts going and what it is? And it's like, mate, I've only got like the next 3 days sorted, because this, like, who knows what's going to happen after this post? Like, this post might get 10 million views, and then what are we going to do? We're not just going to like go with this irrelevant other piece of content that makes no sense. We're going to shift the storyline, or we're going to go this way or that direction. But like, you know, social media of days gone past, or even just marketing in general, you know, you'd have an annual calendar. These are all our events. Okay, we need to do a post for Christmas and then one for Anzac Day and all this sort of thing. And we've got all these like activations that happen. But there's just no way for you to know context for Christmas today.
Yeah, we don't know what Christmas is going to be like.
There's just no way, right? I find that quite interesting, because like for people listening who, I think like the younger generation probably, you know, like the 19-year-olds who are coming out doing this sort of stuff probably get it intuitively anyway, because they're running by the seat of their pants anyway, and they're just doing whatever and throwing mud at the wall and see what sticks. But I think especially for people who have been in the game for a bit longer, you know, like it's funny now because we talk about like COVID is like, you've been in it for ages now. Like, you've been in it for 5 years if you started in COVID. Whereas when I started this podcast, I was like, oh, that was like last year that you were, or 2 years ago. But like, you know, for people who've been in it for 5 years, you've been in it for a while now. There are still some people, and I still meet them, and I still meet marketing managers, and I still meet creators who have like everything planned out to a T, and they do all this work initially, but then all that work starts to fall over when nothing happens, or even worse, they just stick to the plan even though it's not working. And that's the worst thing you can do, because it's like, wow, it didn't work for the last 3 months, why will it work for the next 3 months? Why aren't you changing and adapting to things? So actually I think that's quite interesting. As a you might have thought you just went down some random pattern, but I actually think it's quite an interesting point you made.
I think so, yeah, I rambled, but I ramble quite a bit, but yeah, it's I remember working my 9 to 5, and something would happen on the news, something relevant would happen, and because we had planned out what we were going to execute and post for the whole week, there just wasn't that gap to post, and we didn't have that budget. And I remember everyone would start running around like freaking out because we have to be of relevance, but because we've already planned out everything, it wasn't possible. It was much harder to make yourself more relevant. So I think you need a bit of both. You need that flexibility. I still do try and I guess have a little schedule, but I'm also prepared to randomly create urgent content of what's more relevant if I need to. But
you have to, especially in a niche like yours as well, especially the food content you're going out to eat. You can't just be like, well, I mean, you can, but you would also work out deals with restaurants and things and places that you'd go, or you'd plan out activities, and you've got a family, so you can't just like every night be like, oh, which restaurant should we go out to tonight? Like, it's not really practical. So there have to be some planning involved, of course. And like, even with, you know, our content, like, you know, you filmed some content with Joni earlier, and so did Hayley, and so like that content is just like Joni probably banking that for like a few days time, so she's planned out some stuff. But sometimes we'll have people come in where it's really relevant to put that episode out today because of something just happened with them, so it makes sense. So you need that flexibility, but you also got a plan. And I think it's like having what's my strategy? How am I trying to be relevant? Because like, you don't have to comment on everything. You know, every pop culture moment you don't have to tune in on and say anything about. So you'll need to know, what are the moments I do play into? What are the things that take some planning and preparation to do? But also, like, you have to be ready to just like delete everything as well. I think as well, it's like quite important. It's quite hard to do when you've prepped and planned, but we'll sometimes work with a client, and as a team, I'll say to the team, like, this isn't working. Just delete everything. You know, well, I mean, they're not going to delete it, but you know, get it out of the schedule. Which is, I talk about it like killing your darlings. Like, you really just have to kill your darlings and get rid of them, like, because they're not going to work. We know they're not going to work, so don't just put them out because it's for the sake of it. It's not how the content world works anymore. Okay, so from your perspective, I actually quite like that the strategy is to be a lot more relevant, be a lot more fluid, but also keep your structure, because you do come from a corporate marketing background and that's never going to get beaten out of you fully. From a content perspective, what have you seen the changes been this year for yourself? Like how, or at least for the last 12 months, how is the food content, at least from that part of your niche, how has that evolved for you? What have you seen and what are you changing? What are you adapting? Anything? You know what I'm seeing in food is more and more of is mass food production.
Okay.
Showing things being produced at mass. I'm seeing so much more of it. So like, for instance, like, you know, like even the small places like who do like, I don't know, cookies, like producing cookies at mass, as opposed to, so even a food creator going in and showing a business producing their food at mass in a commercial kitchen, as opposed to the eating component of it. So the eating component is great, and you can always have payoff of the eating of it. But seeing food produced at mass, so like, because it's not normal for a person to bake 4,000 cookies, right? That's unusual. Like we'd never see that, and it's quite a visually appealing thing. And there's a bunch of creators I've seen. I'm not actually sure where they're based, actually. Maybe in the US, probably, where they'll like showcase, rather than just going to a restaurant and eating, they'll showcase like the mass production of the food and what it really looks like. And we saw this one of a woman. It wasn't necessarily eating food, but she just went shopping to produce her candy buffets. I don't know if you've seen this woman before.
No, I haven't. And
it was literally it wasn't even really food content if you think about it. She just went to like Costco or something and just bought a trolley worth of candy, like just lollies. Like it was just outrageous. And then she has other videos where she's plating it all up on these big buffets and whatnot. But those sorts of trends I think are quite interesting to see. Like what are people wanting from their content? And what I think about it is, where I think the human piece of it is, we want more and more genuine and understanding of this food and all the experiences we have. And so, as you know, with your content, putting your face behind it hasn't showcased this world of authentic, genuine experiences rather than these like curated, pretty pictures that Instagram used to be known for. And then this is like an evolution of that. It's like, okay, but where did that food come from? Like, where did that come from? Oh, it came from this kitchen. And usually what those kitchen videos, it's like a Bon Appetit YouTube channel of like a beautifully presented food. But now it's like, no. Mass production of food doesn't have to look like a factory. It can just look crazy in a commercial kitchen. The way that they do things is really fascinating. And I think shows like The Bear showcase sort of stuff like that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on.
Now that you've said it, I was actually watching something in this morning, and it was a small business creating, I think, 4,000 cookies for Coach or something. Yeah, so actually I did watch it thinking, how is a small business making that many cookies for a luxury brand? What an amazing opportunity it is for that business.
Oh, amazing.
And she was documenting it. And I just watched it. I wasn't really thinking a lot when I was watching it, which is why I was like, I did see something like that. But it is quite interesting to see these success stories for small businesses.
Oh, for sure.
And I guess my husband, he watches these Chinese street vendors just chop up food, and he's hooked onto it.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly the content. Yeah, 100%. Watch it all day.
Yeah, he just keeps watching it, and I say, what's so interesting? But I think he couldn't really explain it to me, but he said it's quite fascinating to see how he works, how he chops it up.
Yeah. There's something quite human to watch production. There's something really human in that. There's like a real need for humans to watch things being produced and manufactured. Like it almost like kind of reminds me of like sitting on the kitchen tabletop watching your mum cook dinner kind of thing. Like it's like something real primal about it for humans to watch, which is why I think these sorts of things work so well. Anyway, I've seen a lot more of it. It's obviously been happening forever, but I've seen a lot more of it and people integrating it a little bit differently as well, especially like the food creators who eat the food, showcasing the production and then the eating, which I thought was quite interesting, rather than just the eating. Anyway, hey, we've been almost an hour now. It's like already? 5 to 2. So I need to wrap up because I've got a meeting in 5 minutes. But hey, that was awesome to hear, and I think probably don't realize the nuggets of gold you've just dropped throughout this interview because you probably think they're just normal. But actually, I guarantee you a bunch of younger people who are watching this, or early creators in their career, are like, man, I was struggling with that. Like, I was struggling with these things, and I think they're going to resonate with a lot of people. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I'm glad I was able to provide some useful information, because I was just thinking, oh, what am I going to talk about for a while?
It's always the way. It's always the way. Now, honestly, it was awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See you next time. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it.